One of our former presidents, Lyndon B. Johnson, once said, "He who controls the weather controls the world." Right now, everyone's talking about weather modification. It's like it's common knowledge now. And this is pretty recent. But we've had weather control technology for a long time, much longer. But they even announced it to us, I think, in the 1930s. Obviously, it predates that, as technology predates all that we know now, and it was much better, the Antiquitech. But as far as the technology that we use now, they were able to do it and announced it to us in the 1930s, which probably means they could still do it before then as well. But what isn't talked about is that we are part of this closed system, right? With Earth, with nature, and so is our consciousness, right? The overall consciousness, where we know a song, like everyone knows a song at a time, like it's a super popular song and everyone likes it, or a movie, similar scenario, right? Well, we're kind of feeding off of that one all consciousness. In the same vein, our fear, terror, things like this will also affect the nature around us and the overall consciousness, and it can be manifested in actuality and physicality. And to these, it could lead to storms, and we are in a state right now of super terror, super fear with this election, with what's going on is it real, Israel, all that junk over there. And we're seeing a massive amount of hurricanes right now, and maybe they can make some storms, but I think a lot more times with the weather modification, they're more of capitalizing on certain storms. Like, I mean, Milton started as a category 1 in a very weird, peculiar place in the Gulf, and then quickly became, over, I think it was one day, a category 5. Could be wrong, but it was a very, very fast amount of time. And that's what I mean by being able to modify and maybe direct it in a sense. But I still think that Mother Nature, from our consciousness and our fear, kind of fed into manifesting such a storm like this. And this, to me, seems like another, and to many others, that this is a classic case of another land grab. We saw this with Hurricane Katrina. If you follow the path of how that one was out in the ocean, it was a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, whatever. And then most recently in 2022 with Hawaii. And we're seeing it again now, another land grabs, because whenever land is now destroyed by a natural disaster, the government has the legal right to reimburse the individual or entity group for that property, but they can take it. And this happens a lot along our shorelines as well, where, especially, I mean, like in the case of Katrina was a perfect scenario for this, where they say that the shoreline is uninhabitable anymore, and they scoop it up and they slowly eat more and more of that coastline away. And the climate change bullshling about that our coastlines are wearing away. I mean, there's been many times where we've caught in the act the falsification of taking a picture of the coastline at high tide and low tide, and then saying, oh, that's the effect of climate change. No, I mean, sure, water is rising to some degree, but it's been much, much lower. I mean, if you look no further than the Bimini Road, right off the coast of Florida, Bimini Road, right? And the area and the megastructures surrounding it as well, they go down as far as 110 feet below sea level. Massive area of megalithic structures. So there was an entire civilization that lived there and they are 110 feet below sea level. So the waters have risen an enormous amount. So that's why, places like Fiji and Indonesian islands, they're all just like pointed islands. These are the tops of mountains. So I believe that with the unfreezing of this ice, we'll start to see some sea levels rise. But once the cork gets popped, I think we might see, I'm not sure how it would happen, but I believe to some degree we will lose a lot of water, and for these civilizations to appear, because everything comes to light in the age of Aquarius. All that was unknown, unseen, hidden comes to light, and we're seeing that all the time. Every day new things are being re-shown to light or uncovered, and so this would be no exception. But there's one other side that it could also be for these storms, right? There could be a form of karmic debt, right? So bear with me here, but whenever an area, it may not always be the case. It probably isn't always the case. But sometimes there might be an area that is so, like the beings around it are so demonic, so satanic, that it is lowering the frequency of that area, and the only way to rebalance is to just wash it away, right? And I bring you to Haiti, right? Haiti receives horrible disasters all the time. Very known that they practice voodoo there. They are connected to the Dominican Republic. You can talk to people in the Dominican Republic. They'll tell you that they still receive storms, but not nearly to the degree, the amount that Haiti receives, and a lot less serious. And how can they be? They're connected to that island, and yet they receive way less of those natural disasters. And the only thing that would make sense would be that Haiti has this karmic debt to it, and the only way that, I wouldn't say the only, but that nature can help rebalance, because that's all everything's trying to get to, is balance, homeostasis, is wash that away, right? And I think that could be potentially the case that's going on here as well. But I mean, there's too many different things at play here to say that specifically. I mean, you also have North Carolina and other states that are already declared. They've already had the council unanimously decide that they're going to be mail-in ballots now. They're going to do mail-in ballots for the voting, which we know is guaranteed voter fraud. Not that the vote itself is a fraud. It's always been a fraud. Just make you feel included. I've never voted and I never will. To argue, you need to make your voice heard, that's your right. Sure, whatever. Think that if you want, but don't impose that belief upon me for this election. I mean, it's an election year. Election years are always the most explosive anyway. So it's not altogether shocking. We shouldn't be that really genuinely surprised that this much is happening in this year. But I think this also won't be limited to just this year, because things are really starting to ramp up and exciting for some beings, maybe not so exciting for other beings way, but for me, definitely exciting. More and more omens. We got the northern lights coming even further down. Every single month we're seeing them come further and further down. It just doesn't happen. What a time to be alive. And I guess one last thing that I'd like to add. I've heard of many stories. There's even a guy on YouTube, Dan Winter, who talks about these as well, that shamans, like Aboriginal shamans, not all of them, but some of them, there's been stories of shamans that are able to direct tornadoes, and they can do that just with their consciousness. He goes into very, very detailed, like, vortexes and stuff, about that. But if these guys are able to, because they're very in tune with nature, if they're able to control the eye of a tornado without tools, it makes you think, what can you do with the help of tools? We know the cloud busters, we know all this stuff now. It just kind of makes you think, what are they really capable of? But the end of the day, I don't want this to be about fear mongering, because it's not supposed to be. It's more of, I just want to bring an awareness to this, and everything is going according to plan. You have a plan for yourself, what's relative to you. As long as you're happy and you're focused on being happy, then everything will be fine. Everything will go according to plan, and there really is nothing to worry about. That's all I have to say today.